Welcome, adventurer! Did you know we share a brand new story here every single day? If you love exploring incredible worlds and living exciting adventures, stay with us. Let's dive into today's story. The Clock of Lost Wishes. In the dusty attic of an old clock shop, behind yellowed boxes and forgotten objects, stood the strangest of clocks. As tall as a wardrobe, it was made of dark wood veined with gold, and its face, instead of displaying numbers, showed mysterious symbols that seemed to change depending on who was looking at them. The clock shop belonged to Madame Rose, an elderly woman who had taken over the store from her father, who had inherited it from his grandfather. No one remembered exactly when the clock had arrived there, and curiously, no one had ever managed to move it. On this December 4th, as snow fell softly on the city, something unusual happened. Alice, Madame Rose's granddaughter, had come to help her grandmother organize the attic. At 13, she usually preferred spending time on her phone. But her grandmother wasn't feeling well, and even a reluctant teenager couldn't refuse to help during the Christmas season. While moving an old box, Alice heard a strange sound coming from the large clock. Not a normal tick-tock, but rather like a sad sigh. Intrigued, she approached and noticed that the dust on the face formed patterns that looked like tears. "Grandmother," she called, "the clock, is it crying?" Madame Rose slowly climbed the attic stairs, leaning on her cane. Her eyes widened when she saw the clock. "Oh no," she whispered. "It's happening again." "What's happening again?" The old lady sat on a wobbly stool. "This clock isn't ordinary, Alice. It's the Clock of Lost Wishes. It collects all forgotten wishes, abandoned dreams, unkept promises. And when it becomes too full," she gestured toward the dusty tears. As if to confirm her words, the clock released another sigh, deeper this time. The hands, which had never moved in living memory, trembled slightly. "But why is it crying now?" asked Alice. "Because Christmas is approaching. It's the time when people make the most wishes and forget the most of them too." Alice cautiously approached the clock. Looking carefully at the face, she realized that the mysterious symbols were actually miniature scenes. A child promising to always take care of their puppy. A mother swearing to spend more time with her children. An old man wishing to see his childhood sweetheart again. Suddenly, one of the scenes caught her attention. It showed a little girl promising her grandfather she would always help in his shop. With a shock, Alice recognized her own grandmother, much younger, and her great-grandfather. "We have to do something," Alice decided. "We can't leave it like this." Madame Rose sadly shook her head. "Many have tried. Clockmakers from around the world have come, but no one has ever managed to open it to release the wishes." Alice examined the clock more carefully. On the side, she noticed an inscription carved into the wood. "Only a heart that remembers can open the door of time." "Grandmother," Alice said slowly, "what if the problem isn't opening the clock, but keeping our promises?" She took her phone from her pocket and, after a moment's hesitation, turned it off and set it down. "I promise to spend more time with you in the shop, like before, not because you need help, but because I love being with you." A crystalline chime resonated in the attic. One of the scenes on the clock's face began to glow softly. "I have an idea," said Alice. She ran downstairs and came back with the family's old photo album. Page after page, she and her grandmother rediscovered memories of forgotten promises, of wishes set aside. With each memory revived, each promise renewed, a new scene lit up on the clock. They spent the afternoon this way, and soon other people began arriving at the shop, as if drawn by a mysterious force. There was Mr. Martin, who had promised years ago to teach his daughter piano. Mrs. Baker, who had sworn to return to her native village. Little Tommy, who had forgotten his promise to read stories to his little sister. Each person, by remembering and renewing their promises, made a new part of the clock glow. The atmosphere in the attic became magical, filled with laughter, tears of joy, and old wishes finally coming true. As the sun set, the clock began to chime softly. Its hands started to turn, first slowly, then faster and faster, creating a whirlwind of golden light. When they finally stopped, the face no longer showed sad scenes, but moments of kept promises, fulfilled wishes, accomplished dreams. "The clock," whispered Madame Rose, amazed. "It's not crying anymore." In the days that followed, the old clock shop became a special place. People came not only to have their watches repaired, but also to remember their forgotten promises and find the courage to fulfill them. Alice kept her promise. She came every day after school, listening to her grandmother's stories about every watch and clock in the shop. The clock of lost wishes remained in its corner of the attic, but it no longer cried. Instead, its tick-tock now sounded like a joyful laugh, as if rejoicing in each kept promise, each fulfilled wish. And if sometimes When climbing to the attic, one heard a small, sad sigh. All it took was remembering a forgotten promise and renewing it for the clock to start chiming joyfully again. For as Madame Rose often said, it's never too late to keep a promise, especially those we make to ourselves. The end. What an adventure! Did you enjoy it? Tomorrow, another equally amazing story awaits you right here. And if you'd like to discover exclusive stories or share your own ideas, feel free to check out our website. See you tomorrow!